World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
This is so dangerous. You are risking not only your life, but also my life.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Last time out here on the World Pro Racing Sprint Series, we saw Tinko van der Velde storm away at the front and take the first race win of the season. Could anybody stop him and this great form that he's got? We take you to Imola for this inversion of the Assetto Corsa Competizione World Pro Racing Sprint Series, and we welcome you along to it as well. Good morning, good afternoon and good evening, wherever you're watching in the world, whether it be on Motorsport TV, on ESTV, TVM Sport, maybe perhaps you're watching on Facebook, on YouTube and on Twitch. A very good evening to all of you watching along, and welcome along to the second round of the series, which takes us to Imola, a track that has a huge amount of history behind it, a very fast-paced circuit with no margin for error. And I'm of course joined alongside by Nico Hillebrand. Nico, it's great to have you alongside again. We saw a great first race out last time out. I'm expecting more of the same here for round number 2.
Absolutely, we saw a lot of wheel-to-wheel racing, a lot of very close racing. A couple of incidents, but not too many of them, and I think, especially for Imola, a track where you can overtake a little bit easier, I'd say, than Laguna Seca. I think we'll be looking at another fantastic race today.
Well, I hope so. Laguna Seca brought us some fantastic action, and as you said, a couple of incidents here and there, especially going towards the start-finish line, right at the end of the race in the mid-pack there. The stewards have looked through all of those incidents, and at the moment then, if we take you through the current standings, at the moment it is Tinko van der Velde who is at the top of the table, 60 points to his name. Harry Spears is currently in second place, and then it's Luke Whitehead rounding off the top 3. A big shout out as well to the likes of Jordan Grant-Smith and Hinsai, who finished 4th and 5th last time out at Laguna Seca, got themselves high up the order. And of course, with this point system, it's very heavily biased, in fact only biased towards your race results. There's no more points being scored for any fastest laps, for any most position changes, pole position, most consistent. It is purely based on where you finish in the half-hour race.
Absolutely, so even though half an hour, it's not really such a long race, you sort of still have to look, you know, how am I going to do this best? How am I going to gain the most positions? Or how am I going to keep my position best? You still have to look out that you just actually finish and obviously, you know, well, gain as many positions as possible if you start further from the back. So qualifying does place a bit more importance now.
Yeah, and as Nico said, it's all about the race. Make sure you get the good performance in the race. Of course, qualifying really does help, though. 15 minutes of it. And of course, we head to Imola here, which is in the heart of Bologna at the Autodromo Enzo Edino Ferrari. And as I've said before, it's a track with a lot of history. The corners like Tamarello, through Vilna, through Tosa, through Acqua Minerale, through Piratella. They're all very famous names in their own right, let alone when you actually get out there and drive on this track. And Nico, I assume you've put in more than a few laps here at Imola. Just take us through this track. What's it like to drive it?
Well, you can see Harry Spears here right now in his Mercedes AMG GT3, coming through the first corner, well, the first little kink, through the Tamburello chicane. Of course, everyone remembers, well, everyone, if you have some racing experience and you're a racing fan, remembers the very, very long left-hander flat out of Tamburello. Got replaced for safety reasons. Now to the Villeneuve chicane. Also got sharpened quite a bit. We see Harry Spears take quite a lot of curb there, so that is really something that you have to set up your suspension for. Now this one here, left-hander at Tosa, very, very tricky hairpin, simply because you want to get very close to the curb, but not really on it, especially with cars with a shorter wheelbase, or maybe with mid-engines, because the car just rotates on you. There we have Piratella, now at the top of the hill. You just have to very, just thread the needle through it to get the best line through it. Now in Acqua Minerale, hard on the brakes through that right-hander kink, and then that third, maybe fourth gear, well, third and second gear, sorry, right-hander, and now up for Variante Alta at the top of the hill once again. Look at these huge curves. He's just attacking them. Absolutely no reason to hold back. It's still practice. Actually gets a little bit wide at the end, and of course he'll have to watch out for that in the race. Gets down the hill now for the final two corners at Ivazza. Wonderful corners. A lot of braking opportunities here to just get alongside another car and now get all of the momentum, keep to the inside, and of course just keep that throttle pinned to the ground. as he just shoots up the start-finish straight with a question mark, since we have 2 or 3 kinks in it. But that's a lap around Imola, and it is just really such a fantastic circuit around here.
Oh, you're telling me. It looks absolutely phenomenal. Always has done, Imola, even with the circuit changes throughout the years, especially going through the final couple of corners through Ravazza. Of course, in the mid and early 2000s, there used to be a chicane up towards the final corners and on towards the start-finish straight. Now it's flat out on the exit of Ravazza all the way through, as you say, the start-finish curve. It's more likely to be there, as we see Ashton Cox here making his way now down towards Ravazza. The track dipping down towards that heavy braking zone, in towards the 2 left-handers here, almost 90 degrees going through here. Keep the car balanced on the exit of the first part, then make sure you get the exit on the second part of Ravazza absolutely nailed down, because you're on the throttle for a long time. You'll see drivers use that little bit of green tarmac on the inside there to shorten however much of this straight they have. And he comes across the line there, 9th fastest so far in that car. And the last lap time, 1:42, flat on the nose.
One thing that's very nice to see right now in this practice session is in the top 5 we have actually 5 different manufacturers and car models. Of course, in first place right now with a 1:43.74, so quite a speedy time, especially considering the slowly but surely, warmer getting temperature that we have here, 28 degrees Celsius. So it's already past that point of perfect grip, but it still provides quite good grip. So 43.74 at the pole right now. Luke Whitehead in second place with a Ferrari, almost 4 tenths behind that, and not even half a tenth behind that, Richard Schäfer in the Butler Powell Motorsport Bentley, followed by Mitchell in the Lamborghini, and then Jack Noller in the Honda.
Yes, and it's really good to see so many different manufacturers up at the top and up the head of the field, as Luke Whitehead in the Ashtois Racing Ferrari makes his way across the line. 40.5 on that last lap time puts him at the moment second fastest. He did improve on that lap time, but he stays at second fastest. We have a new entry here. This is Szymon Wozorek, as he now makes his way down towards Ravazza. Of course, didn't then take part in Laguna Seca last time out, so he's a completely new entry, heading his way down in towards Ravazza, braking hard for this one, making sure that the Lamborghini is behaving itself on the first part of Ravazza through the second part. And this is such an important corner, one of the most important corners on the track, because now your right foot is pinned to the floor as you build up the speed, go through the gears and head towards that start-finish line. Currently 19th fastest, moves up to 18th fastest with a 42.684, 2.3 seconds off the lead pace that Harry Spears is currently setting at this moment in time. Remember, it's just a practice session for now, and we have just over 7.5 minutes of it. Harry Spears, who's currently second in the championship, is leading this practice session. Luke Whitehead, who's third in the championship, is second, and Tinko van der Velde down in 6th place at the moment, some nearly 3/4 of a second off the pace that Harry Spears has set so far.
Yeah, I think maybe Tinko is trying to do more emphasis on the race pace that he's currently trying to set. But yeah, as it stands right now, we know how difficult it can be to overtake with these guys sometimes. As Jan Reiler takes a little bit of an unconventional line out of the last corner, a bit more space outward of the tarmac. But yeah, overall, I think Van der Velde will have to improve his lap time a little bit when it comes to qualifying, because, of course, it's only 6th place. It's the 3rd row still, so you're not losing out too much. But still, I know what kind of drivers we have here, and I think everyone who tuned in last week also knows. These guys are not easy to overtake, and especially Harry Spears with his fantastic defensive drive against Luke Whitehead at Laguna Seca. I think he's looking for a repeat here, except this time he won't be blocking off for his teammate and defending 2nd place. This time he's going to be fighting for himself.
He is indeed, as Chris Spohr now makes his way down towards Ravazza in the exiled Virtual Motorsport Ferrari. And of course, when we head into the 3rd season of this Assetto Corsa Competizione Sprint Series here on World Pro Racing, you are locked into the car you pick. So this sounds weird, but in the first 2 seasons, you got to pick whichever car you liked for each and every round. However, when you get into here, in this season, the car you picked was the car you have to stick with for the entire season. So you've got to really weigh up which car is going to be the best at the most circuits, and if not, you have to find the compromise. Well, the car might not be strongest at this track, but it's good at this one, so I'm going to prioritise that one. But Van der Velde now making his way onwards. He goes towards Aqua Minerale through this double right-hander, and that's curbs on the right-hand side. Try and open up the corner as much as possible before you then go up the hill, trying to get the power down without spinning up the rear tyres on towards Variante Alta in the Sidemax Motorworks Ferrari, making his way through Variante Alta. He might get a little bit of traffic from that Lexus ahead. I think that's Silver Pyramids. Making our way now down in towards Rivazza as the Lexus moves to the left-hand side of the track and lets Van der Velde through in the 66 Sidemax Motorworks Ferrari. Through in towards Rivazza we go, through the final corner and onwards now, back onto the power. And let's see then what sort of lap time Van der Velde will set if Nico's right. This should be for race pace. He might not be focusing on qualifying pace at this moment in time with 5 minutes left on the clock. Crosses the line, 41.001, but it was an invalid lap time, so it will not count. Would have been good enough for 5th fastest in this session.
And just perfectly in time, that was something I also wanted to address here. You mentioned this earlier, we used to have this last chicane here, and overall that also reduced the length in pit lane quite a bit, quite a considerable actually. Now we have an immensely long pit lane and just this incredibly long straight where we just reach these enormous straight line speeds. And as you just said, an invalid lap. In the race, you will have to watch out for that, because if you get a drive-through penalty here, you cannot come back from that.
Yeah, I think there are worse places to get a drive-through penalty. Belgium comes to mind at the Spa-Francorchamps, but you're absolutely right. Here it is a very, very long pit lane, so drive-through penalties are the absolute no-no. Going around here is Zamfir Radu in the Quattro Venti Aston Martin. Gets back onto the power and towards the start-finish line in that number 910 car. Towards the start-finish line, getting very close to that Armco on his right-hand side. Just trying to make the run to the line as short as possible. Last lap time, 42.1, would have been good enough to get him and break him into sort of 17th, 18th place, but it wasn't a valid lap, so he'll have to go again. It is only practice though, so this is where the drivers will iron out their last mistakes and make sure any mistakes are made in this session. Johannes Weiss then in the Butler Powell Motorsport 271 Bentley comes across the line, pretty consistent though, 41.340, just within a tenth of his best lap time so far. So that indicates to me that that is race pace.
Yeah, probably. I mean, Johannes Weiss, I know him a little bit better. He's not one of the guys who normally prioritize quali pace that much, because he knows that his strength normally lays in the race. Meanwhile, Richard Schäfer, that we see, you know, his Bentley teammate, actually a little bit further up ahead as he comes out of Tosa there, up the hill. This guy, he's been doubting his own quali pace a little bit, so I think now being in this position up front and, you know, potentially finding some more time, you know, will be quite good for his ego as well.
Absolutely, and if you fancy having your chances here, I've got good news. There's great events coming up on World Pro Racing, no less the Duo event, where it's going to be one of the first team events here on World Pro Racing. 2 drivers and pretty balanced driver stints as well to make sure everyone gets a fair share in the car. And of course we have our Mega Sprint Tuesdays, the next one happening at Brands Hatch. Very great racetrack there, really recommend that one. So head over to worldproracing.com/events to find out where your next race event will be. Inside then in the Rookie Monsters Ferrari, the number 155, within 1 second of Harry Spears so far. No surprise there, because he finished 5th last time out at Laguna Seca. Got some good pace behind him as he makes his way through the final corner at Rivazza and onwards towards the start finish line. Will he go faster than 7th fastest? It's only free practice, but I'm still hyping up his lap times as Sai now makes his way across the line. Does he go quicker than his personal best? He does not, no. About just under 4/10 off the pace he has already set, but we're not sure how long he's been out there. Silver Pyramids then across the line in the Emil Frey Lexus Racing number 23 car, setting his first lap of this practice session with 90 seconds on the clock, and it's a good enough for 21st fastest so far.
Absolutely, and you can see how well that Lexus takes the curbs there. Meanwhile here we have one of the cars that normally doesn't take too well to curbs. Langley Shikanami, our last finisher last race, but still scoring points, obviously, so it's always worth driving this to the end, unless, of course, you have completely totaled your car, and in that sense, yeah, a little bit more difficult to carry on in that sense.
Absolutely, yeah, and of course she finished off at Laguna Seca. Of course, she was the last of the finishes. However, she didn't take the race start due to technical difficulties. So hopefully she'll have ironed out those problems and will be able to take the race start wherever she qualifies here today. As she makes her way now through the Variante Alta and the Bentley right behind there. You don't want many cars in your rear views. You definitely don't want the Bentley in your rear view. Such an intimidating car.
Yeah, it's just overall the size difference is just quite something else. I mean, the only other car that comes to mind here would be the Lexus, but since the Lexus, I think it's a little bit more rounded, a little bit more flat at the front, so, you know, it doesn't look that imposing when it's right behind you. But the BMW M6 and the Bentley Continental, those two cars are just really a sight to behold in your rearview mirror, and I think they're just two cars that really make you nervous when they're right behind you.
The checkered flag is out then for this free practice session, and some drivers there inside will be one of the last to set the lap time, or going in towards the chicane there, going in towards Tamburello, and not happy with that one. I'm sure he will not be. Jan Ryler making his way now on through Variante Alta and getting the tail out just a little bit there. Might cost him a tenth or two coming off the exit there. You really do not want the rear end to be kicking out at that point. And then making our way in towards Ravazza with Jan Ryler currently 19th fastest, just over 2 seconds off the pace set by Harry Spears in this practice session, but kicking up a little bit of gravel on the outside. Might not help him on the exit, but that right hand side foot will be flat to the floor to get as much power down as possible. Crosses the line then with a 42.120. Would have been even quicker, but it was not a valid lap time. So that's free practice done. Gives us a good idea of what to expect, and what to expect Harry Spears and Luke Whitehead within 0.2 of a second of each other.
Absolutely, and I think in qualifying it'll actually get a little bit closer again, simply because people will be in that full mindset, you know, now it's no more time to be kidding around. Now it's just, you know, maximum pace on one lap, and people will just have to look for that gap perfectly among all these around 30 cars that we have on track.
Yeah, and find your way through that traffic, making sure that you space yourself out across this 4.909 kilometre circuit. It's a high-speed circuit as well, so you've got to try and make sure the setup's right. That free practice session with what the drivers have been going through, making sure they've got the right setup, the tyre pressures are set up right. I mean, when you're coming into a high-speed circuit like this one, it's high speed, but there's also high speed corners with a couple of chicanes thrown in. So what's your approach to this one, Nika? How are you setting the car up?
Well, the thing is, generally, especially just because of that long front straight, you really want to have low downforce, but not the same level of low downforce that you would have at Monza, simply because at Monza, the difference is that for every single chicane, you go down to the levels where aerodynamics just doesn't matter anymore. It's all just mechanical grip, so you want to do a lot of mechanical grip and, you know, basically no downforce and just the maximum straight line speed that you can get at Monza. Here it's a little bit difficult though, because especially Tamburello, Villeneuve, and then corners like Piratella and Acqua Minerale, you really want some downforce to be in effect there, just to help slow the car down in a stable manner, and to then get also a lot better traction out of the corner again.
Yeah, so we need to make sure, and the drivers I'm sure would have been tuning into that to briefing there from Nico on how to set the car up. I know I was taking notes, maybe. But we'll join the drivers now out on their qualifying session. Of course, this is a session that really does matter, because Nico, whilst we are talking about that and how it is a high-speed circuit, lots of medium-speed corners, what that does mean is that, in my mind, there's fewer overtaking opportunities.
Absolutely, normally at least, but, well, obviously, it's difficult to say here, because we have a lot of chicanes that are in heavy braking zones, but they are only one line, but they are also fast enough that you can actually make moves through them or set up moves through them. So if you just, for example, Tamburello, if you get that corner in the middle a little bit wrong, the car just squirrels around a little bit, you just can't get the perfect traction out of it, and for the next little straight just to Villeneuve, the car behind you can already set up a pass again. So it's really just keeping up the flow, but also just staying close enough to your opponent at the front, just so you can have a bit more slipstream than you would normally have.
So riding on board then with Harry Spears, making our way now in towards Tamburello. Very tricky corner to slow that car down in second gear, back onto the power, then through the third part of Tamburello, joining now on towards this short straight towards Villeneuve. Once again, bit of a chicane here. Use that curb on the right-hand side. Bit of trail braking into the left-hander, slowing it down to second gear for the right-hander through Villeneuve. Now in towards Toza here, uphill as you try and slow the car down. Gravity will help you here. Try and get back onto the power, down into first gear to make sure the car does turn in, and then back through the gears. Up the hill we go. You can barely see the next corner over the crest here. Then it arrives. Piratella down a couple of gears here, down into second gear, back up to third to help with the traction on the exit, and then now you're going downhill in towards the Acqua Minerale here. A little bit of trail braking here, down to third gear for the first part. Now you're going uphill, down into second gear again. Use that curb on the left-hand side. There's a lot of rubber down there, and you can use that to your heart's content. Short run now towards the Variante Alta, looking out for your braking point. About 50 meters before the corner, slowing the car down, riding those curves, using that suspension to its full effect. And back on the power now as you now descend down the hill towards Ravazza. Plenty of time to think about this one. Again, so much undulation here. You see this corner late and you're downhill on braking, so the brakes have to work even harder. You have to brake slightly earlier for that one. Through the last part of Ravazza then and back onto the power, the most important corner of the circuit. That right foot is now firmly placed on the floor with the pedal just underneath it as you now try and find the shortest run to the line possible to set the fastest lap time possible. And Harry Spears sets a 1:40.722, and that is a lap of Imola.
Absolutely amazing pace from him. Johannes Weiss not quite able to do a valid lap yet. Richard Schäfer there coming with barely within 7/10, so those are the top three that we have right now. Tinko van der Velde actually even slower at the moment. So I think a lot of people are just still having to get into the rhythm properly. Here we have Sheldon Muscat in one of the GT Omega RPM Esports Hondas, and he goes up into 5th place. So we can already see quite a pace spread at the moment, and I think we will see a lot faster lap times as it goes on.
Yep, lap times are becoming in thick and fast throughout this entire session. Here's Zamfir Radu then in the Quattro Venti Aston Martin as he now gets onto the power, onto that right-hand side pedal, and towards the line he will go. And what sort of lap time will he set as his first? It wasn't an invalid lap. It would have been a 43.2. So we're looking at around about 10th, 11th place in those standings, but of course not valid lap, so it will not count.
Yeah, and it's really that difficult little perfect area that you have to hit. Of course, you want to use the most track available, as you can see here with Richard Schäfer actually. This is also one of the things that is a bit difficult from time to time to judge your sensors properly, because most cars, of course, are left-hand drive. This one here is right-hand drive. He's still way within the track limits, but yeah, of course, if you want to go the fastest, you always have to look out and try to use the most track available. And here at Imola, it's just so easy to misjudge that slightly. And of course, our simulator, a set of course the Competizione, it'll immediately go, well, that is a little bit too fast, sunshine, go around again.
There's Richard Schäfer then, 4th fastest, now goes to 2nd fastest. Luke Whitehead takes the top of the table with a 40.521, and Schäfer now goes to 2nd fastest, and Harry Spears 3rd, all just within, or just over 0.2 of a second. Here comes Oscar Saristo then in the SOP Motorsport. Nissan goes 5th fastest, just over 1 second away from our provisional pole position man in Luke Whitehead. Inside then, making their way around the final corner in the Rookie Monsters number 155 Ferrari. Again, back onto the power then as you make your way towards the start-finish line. Currently 13th fastest in this qualifying session. Can he get further up the order? Not that time around. He did set a quicker lap time, which would have got him a couple of positions, but it wasn't a valid one. So we'll have to go and do it all over again.
Really difficult, of course, to get that perfect rhythm in. Now we have Luke Whitehead here going through Acqua Minerale. Very hard on the braking. You can see just how much you have to slow down. You have to start braking before you actually get through that kink, and of course having that car through there, having especially a Ferrari, you know, with the mid-engine just over-rotating a little bit wrong in that case, very tricky. Now making his way down the hill. I don't know if he's on a timed lap right now because sadly well, to show where the car is on track. You know, we have this track map here. We can see him as the red dot. Normally we'd see gray or blue. Blue in this case means that they are on an out lap or an in lap or just slightly an invalid lap. And gray, of course, means on a timed lap. And then you have dark blue as well, which is in the pit lane.
Well, that pretty much answers your question. He was on a flying lap because he's just improved. 40.467 now is our new provisional pole position time. Wonder what Harry Spears can respond to with that. He will be trying to make sure he gets higher up the order. So here comes Oscar Saristo once again, setting a lap time here. Goes quicker now. And up to 5th fastest, 41.199, puts him onto the 3rd row of the grid. Here's Gurley Kunshawa then in the Gifted Racing Team Honda car, the treble one, making his way towards the line. The Hungarian is currently 18th fastest, then 9th row of the grid. He'll cross the line and improve to 14th fastest, then 7th row of the grid for the Hungarian. But you can see how much this order is changing, and it will change constantly, consistently throughout this session. At the moment, though, it's Luke Whitehead leading the way from Harry Spears and Richard Schaefer. Currently your top 3 within 2/10 of each other.
Not just that, but once again we have quite nice brand variety actually. I think in the top 10 we have 9 different brands right now, so once again, well, BOP being quite spot on here at the moment, and just absolutely lovely to see something like that.
And here is Thomas Charmitat in the VRT Esports Ferrari, currently 12th fastest, 1.5 seconds off of the pace that Luke Whitehead has set so far. Coming out of Variante Alta and now making our way down towards Rivata, then going down the hill we go, then making sure that you have that steering wheel straight as possible when you're going into the braking zone at the first part of Rivata. Now through the last left-hander of the lap, back onto the power, using that curb if you have to, and you'll see drivers there just sticking to the right hand side of that track as much as possible to make the run to the line as short as possible. He crosses the line and now goes 6th fastest, improves by a couple of tenths of a second, and his reward so far is the 3rd row of the grid.
Quite good starting place, and Oscar Seristo as well. He'll be very happy with the current result in qualifying because he's on the 2nd row. So, 2 very, very large cars in the 2nd row of the grid. And for Oscar Saristo, it's a very welcome change because in the last race he actually DNF'd after a very hefty crash into the pit wall.
Absolutely. And there was Milutinovic there getting all sorts of out of shape there, out of Variante Alta. And we're about to find out if he was on a flying lap or not. He's carried on and now he's backed out of it. So that looks to me like either he was on a flying lap and he abandoned it, or he was never on a flying lap in the first place. We'll never know. Ashton Cox then, currently 17th fastest as he makes his way now in towards Variante Alta. 1.8 seconds off the lap time from Luke Whitehead, and then going very wide and missing those sleeping policemen. And I wonder if that's going to be a real concern here, because you'll see drivers use a lot of the outside, out of the boundaries of the track, going onto Variante Alta. But you see a lot of the time that drivers are allowed to do it. It's just about how far out you're allowed to go.
Absolutely, and at the same time, it's really a question though if how far is it really profitable to go? Simply because if you hit those sleeping policemen a bit wrong, there goes your momentum, there goes your traction, and there goes the next 3 positions right behind you because they got a better launch out of that chicane.
Yeah, and I think that's a good answer there because Ashton Cox said a 41.9, but it's not going to count. So that's probably a good indication the line he took there might have not been a legitimate one, at least according to Assetto Corsa Competizione. So he remains 17th fastest, just over 4 minutes left in this qualifying session, and Luke Whitehead currently leads the way on a 140.467. Harry Spears has got that gap down to just over 1/10 of a second. Richard Schaefer is currently 3rd. Oscar Saristo 4th place in that Nissan, with Jack Noller in 5th and Charmitat in 6th, with Muscat 7th, Otti in 8th, Van der Velde in 9th, and Mitchell rounds off our top 10.
So the Lamborghini, well, one of the home cars here, so to say, is of course rounding up the top 10, and actually for Italian standards it's really looking quite nice because top 10, 40% of that is Italian cars. So, well, actually, technically speaking, 60%, simply because of course this Honda NSX GT3 Evo here is normally built and also run quite a lot by JAS Motorsport, who are of course an Italian team.
So it's all sorts of Italian mania here, and I would love to see their car this far up the order and doing well here today. Tom Otti, meanwhile, has gone 9th fastest in the Audi, and number 690 puts himself now 9th fastest in this session. Jack Noller then making his way in towards Tosa, and there is Pedro Gomez, 18th fastest in this qualifying session so far in that Rookie Monsters number 43 Ferrari, making his way in towards Villeneuve before that short run up towards Tosa and back onto the power and slowing the car down for that left-hander. And of course, just as you're turning in, the climb begins and upwards you will go towards Piratella, and you don't see that corner until late on. Such is the nature of climbing this hill towards Piratella. You get to the crest and you think, right, now I've got to find my braking zone. Can catch you unawares, but these drivers are pretty good at lapping the circuit here at Imola, especially Piratella. It looks like a fantastic corner to drive in sim racing, let alone in the real motorsport.
Absolutely, and of course, once again, this is only sim racing, only in quotation marks, but of course the racing is still real, even if the cars are not. And once again, you know, we see so much spread of sim racing now this weekend actually, and yesterday and today as we're speaking right now. The SRO GT World Challenge, of course, having their esports races as well to launch their season. And overall, I think it's very, very nice to see how sim racing and, how the range of sim racing is just spreading more and more. And, to be part of that is already quite fantastic.
Pedro Gomez then coming towards the line. Can he improve on his lap time? Well, no, because that was an outlap. He's now got one more chance to try and get as far up the order as he can. He finished 15th at Laguna Seca last time out. Here's Harry Spears then, as he now makes his way through that chicane, attacking the curbs as much as possible. Second fastest. He finished second after defending against Luke Whitehead at Laguna Seca for a long, long time. Now making his way down the hill in towards Ravazza for his qualifying. Smidgen of a throttle pedal underneath. He makes his way towards the line. Can he find an improvement? He can, and he goes within 0.012 seconds of provisional pole position. That's a warning shot for Luke Whitehead. He surely will be attacking even more on this next lap. Johannes Weiss then, currently 8th fastest in this qualifying session, 9/10 away from Luke Whitehead's provisional pole position time. He gets back onto the power now and will now descend down the hill towards Ravazza. Using that little bit of curb as well, trying to draw the car towards the outside of the circuit. As he now makes his way through the second part of Ravazza, back onto the power now in the Butler Power Motorsport Bentley. The number 271 checkered flag is out then, as Johannes Weiss will be one of the first to reach that checkered flag and finish off the flying lap. Goes 4th fastest with that one. Onto the second row of the grid for Johannes Weiss. Let's see what other drivers will be out there. Harry Spears comes back into the pit lane, so he will not be another challenge to Luke Whitehead. Who might be another challenge is Tinko van der Velde, our race winner at Laguna Seca in the Sidemax Motorworks number 66 Ferrari, 5th fastest at the moment, as he makes his way now down in towards Ravazza, trying to make sure that he finds all of the grip he possibly can. Back onto the power, out of Ravazza, and all you can do now is try and build up the speed, build up the power, and make that run to the line as short as you possibly can. He'll come towards the line now. Can he improve on 5th fastest? He improves on his time, but not on his position. He stays 5th fastest for that one. So our championship leader down in 5th place. Luke Whitehead, though, grabbing pole position by less than the blink of an eye.
Absolutely crazy scenes here in qualifying, and honestly, with Tinko van der Velde, the man who's trying to defend his championship lead right behind a roadblock of 2 Bentleys, I think this is going to be a very entertaining race at the front.
Absolutely, and I hope you're looking forward to it, as of course we are in the commentary box. And let us know on the Twitch chat and the YouTube chat how things are going. Maybe you're going to greet us on Facebook as well. Welcome along to you. And if you are watching on ESTV, on Motorsport TV and TVM Sport, a big welcome to you as well. We hope you're going to enjoy the next race. And of course, World Pro Racing has announced recently that it's got now an official partnership with ES1, a TV channel for French-speaking countries. So a big movement there. Hopefully we'll be able to to bring you more racing for the French-speaking nations very, very soon. I'm sure more races will be in the pipeline there. And of course, before we head into our race, a big thank you to our sponsors as well in AMD, in HyperX, in GT Omega Racing, Thrustmaster, and of course Gaming Malta and visitmalta.com. And a quick shout out here to the other racing series you can see on World Pro Racing. Make sure you head to worldproracing.com/events for the next couple of series. We've got the Duo Series, which is a team endurance event with both drivers getting roughly equal amount of time in the car. And of course, we have the Mega Sprint Tuesdays, which the next one is going to be at Brands Hatch. That's not one you are not wanting to go and miss. So if you want to find out where your next race is, head over to worldproracing.com/events, and Nico and I might see you out there. We might get to shout over you. Who knows? The possibilities are endless. Nico, let's focus on the race now here. Round number 2 out of 5. And we've got Luke Whitehead on pole position, the championship leader in 5th place. Anything could happen, really, couldn't it?
Absolutely, but I also think, really cannot say this enough, Harry Spears is also in 2nd place. So, of our top 3 last race, we have all of them in the top 5. But then these 2 Bentleys in the mix, and as you say, anything can happen. I'm really just interested to see how these guys will just play along, if they will play along nicely, or if maybe, well, Luke Whitehead will probably be desperate to show, well, Harry, last time I couldn't get past you, this time you won't even have a chance to race against me. And I think it's a battle of egos at this point.
And Richard Schaefer as well, up into the top 3. A fantastic qualifying session for him. He finished 7th at Laguna Seca last time out. Is there a possible podium on the cards for him?
I'd absolutely say so. Richard and Johannes, both of them are very well versed in the Bentley, of course, now, racing with it in the SimGrid VCO World Cup. So they have extensive knowledge of the car, and I think, honestly, with a starting position like this, you know, they're both quite good racers, also real-life experience, so I imagine that both of them could be in for a podium if they get a good start and just keep it clean throughout the race.
And I've said this before and I'll say it again, Tinko van der Velde, although he's down in 5th place, never rule him out. He's always got some pace behind him when he really needs it. Maybe a bit of a surprise to see him that far off the pace of Luke Whitehead. We're talking half a second.
Yeah, a little bit weird, because honestly, at Laguna Seca he seemed to be in his own league, but it's also a point of, you know, how well do I get along with the circuit? How well do I get along with the rhythm of the circuit and the car? Because, for example, the Ferrari here, we see all these huge sausage clips on the inside of corners. Luke Whitehead gets along with it very well, but if Tinko van der Velde, for example, has a bit more of a smooth driving style, then these curves will definitely not be doing any favors to him whatsoever.
Absolutely not. And you'll see now the cars just making their way out now for their formation lap, for their pace lap before we get things underway. And I'm going to launch this terrible, terrible question on you, Nico. We saw last time out Harry Spears had the really defensive drive against Luke Whitehead, and he's only 0.012 seconds off the pace of Luke Whitehead according to that qualifying session we've just run. Is it a chance for Harry Spears to try and make a move and see if he can defend the entire time?
I would say absolutely, simply because, well, we have a rolling start at around 70 kilometers an hour. The thing is, Harry Spears has a huge advantage right now. Out of the entire top 10, he's the only car that's naturally aspirated with its engine. So he will have the peak power at the immediate moment when the green flag is dropped, unless he completely messes up the start, completely just messes up that timing. But other than that, he should have an advantage on the line, so Luke Whitehead will really have to put everything into defense. And at the same time, Richard Schaefer and Johannes Weiss will have to have their finger on the trigger immediately to just keep up with that Mercedes.
I would say there, Harry Spears is almost giving Luke Whitehead the hurry up there just to try and see if he can make his way to the grid faster. But of course, this is the chance for the drivers to really size up their opponents as well. This is when the mind games start, really, isn't it, Nico, on this formation lap? Maybe mind games being played by Harry Spears just very slightly there.
Oh, absolutely. And with drivers like these, you know, we're talking about drivers who are, as I said, you know, they're driving in the World Cups. You know, Luke Whitehead, Harry Spears, they're driving in the SimGrid, which is, of course, also an organization which has risen to very high international standard and who are also helping organize the SRO GT World Challenge. And these guys are just driving at that world level, so the mind games will be on constantly. You just have no pause from that.
No pause whatsoever, and hopefully no pause on the action we're going to have here tonight as the cars make their way through the Variante Alta. They'll soon have to start to go into their 2x2 formation, but it's not really until we get towards Ravazza and beyond it before the cars really have to take up their formation. But Luke Whitehead will lead the way then as he makes his way now down towards Ravazza. As Nico said, it's too wide, it's 2x2 all the way towards the line. Luke Whitehead will in theory have the better starting position. He'll be starting on the side that has more of the rubber, well, at least in theory anyway, as they now make their way towards Ravazza. And of course now the cars have to get into the formation. There'll be a little message on the screen that the drivers have to stay within a box at some point. They have to stay within a speed limit, and if they exceed that, they will of course get an instant drive-through penalty. So watch out for that red DT that comes up beside drivers' names then. But as the cars make their way now, it's a long way to stay in formation. Anticipation builds for this one, not only for the drivers but for you watching at home as well, as we make our way now towards that start-finish line. Luke Whitehead on your right, Harry Spears on your left. They'll flip around once they pass us and this camera box here, as the drivers, you can see, making their way towards the line. That green flag is going to drop any moment now. You've got to be very careful not to jump the start here, not to be too eager as the cars make their way towards the line right about now. We'll get that green flag any moment now. And we do get it now. Green flag is out. We are racing. And Harry Spears has got a fantastic start. And what Nico has said is proven true as the two Butler Powell Motorsport cars collide. The two teammates collide. Third and fourth place. And it's absolute carnage behind them going up towards Tamburello. And that, for the two Bentleys there, there's more contact behind as well. The other Butler Powell Motorsport has gone off. And there's more carnage coming out of the end of Tamburello then. They haven't even made it through Villeneuve, and we've lost a load of cars then. Lots of cars finding their way out of their way and out of their league at the moment, as Jack Noller, there you can see, currently 12th place as it stands on our screens at the moment. They might have to update because I think he's 4th fastest, actually 4th in this session anyway, as the cars now climb their way up the hill. And Tinko van der Velde has simply kept his foot in, kept his head down. He's now up into 3rd place. Szymon Wozerik, who was starting all the way down beyond the top 20, is now up into 8th place, just making his way through the field. And those two Butler Powell Motorsport cars, I think there's going to be a very heavy debriefing between those two drivers, not only from them, but I think the stewards might want to have a step in as well.
If you had told me anything can happen at the start, and you did tell me, I didn't expect that this would happen. I will be absolutely honest with you.
Well, it's quite hard to believe the two teammates then, they're close as well, but maybe a little bit too close out on the track as the rest of the field then make their way up in towards a Variante Alta for the very first time. And it looks like, in all honesty, every car has made it through. They just got caught up at the start, and everyone is making it way through now, as we see Jan Ryler 16th at the moment according to our timing screens. But there is Harry Spears. Now what you said, I was about to say before I interrupted myself, that Harry Spears got the line, he got the start he needed, and that naturally aspirated engine, Nico, as you rightly said, got the better launch. It had the better torque when he needed it most, and it's allowed him to take the lead. And there you can see, got the lead. Now the two Butler Powell Motorsport cars, it's Weiss and Schaefer that come together. Schaefer's now back into the middle of the track, and well, it's a Constantina effect really, as lots of cars getting caught up in that one. And well, penny for their thoughts there, Nico.
I think it's just a very difficult situation there, because Schaefer seemed to want to get alongside Whitehead. At the same time, Weiss was running out of road on the right side. So that's one of the difficulties here at the start, because you just can't properly gauge how wide your car is. And of course, with right-hand drive, it's even more difficult. So you try to, well, Schaefer in this case, he was gaining a little bit on Whitehead, so he was trying to prepare to pull alongside. Normally there would be a radar, but the radar is also a little bit inaccurate sometimes, so I think probably a miscommunication there. Just really unfortunate result there. And of course Weiss in the end, he seemed to go through the first chicane, but then some contact that happened, and maybe something from the sausage curbs, or just one of the Ferraris actually very aggressive on the line, but something happened there and he just got spun around as well.
Yeah, I'm sure the stewards will be stepping in to have a look at what happened there. There's those two large incidents at the very start before we even reach the Villeneuve chicane. Of course, our FIA accredited stewards in Adrian Figallo and George Muscat will be watching over. They'll be watching that back plenty of times to see what on earth happened in both of those incidents. At the moment, though, we're in the dark about that one. So we're riding on board then with Johannes Weiss. Started 4th place. Gets onto the power. Green flag goes then. You see Harry Spears gets a good start. And there you can see, that to me looks like Weiss then thought he was clear. Schaefer thought he was clear of Weiss, but the quarter panel on his right-hand side on the rear told a different story altogether.
Yeah, it's just really difficult when you have a car like the Bentley that is just so humongous and so long at the front. And also, you know, the length doesn't really let off at the rear as well. So they're just really trying to, you know, slot in right behind each other to keep, the attacking potential to the minimum. But, yeah, slots in a bit too early and, Weiss couldn't really go anywhere else in that situation.
Well, there's your leader then in Harry Spears, making his way through. Bit of pressure from Luke Whitehead. So as the first incident happens behind them, Johannes Weiss then he gets a tap from the Ferrari behind, and that causes even more carnage going through there. So I think trying to have a look at the car. It was Heinz Sai. You're absolutely right. So that was the other car involved there, and it just caused even more mayhem behind them. Just as they got through Tamburello, well, they hadn't even made it through Tamburello yet. And they two big incidents there that will no doubt be investigated. At the moment, though, Harry Spears' start. We haven't talked about that yet. It was an immense one. He got that timing perfect, has taken the lead of this race, and now we might see Luke Whitehead getting a bit of deja vu here, because I'm sure he's been in this scenario before, but this time it's for the lead of the race.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think Spears is just really, really confident around this circuit. I know that he's driven the Mercedes quite a lot, and of course the Mercedes is one of the stronger cars around here as well, so just really, really interesting to see, you know, him just being slightly behind, but then for the race, well, no problems whatsoever seemingly, and he's now actually also just flying away, well, keeping that gap to his teammate Tinko van der Velde.
So there he is then leading the way, and as you said, Tinko van der Velde, 3rd place at the moment. I do say never rule him out. He's got some pace when he needs it, and that crucially avoiding that little bit of carnage that happened just ahead of him, keeping his nose clean somewhat, has helped him, and it's now put him onto the podium positions. We've got just under 24 minutes left of this sprint race then, and it's Harry Spears who leads the way ahead of Luke Whitehead, and Tinko van der Velde is in 3rd. Jack Noller in 4th with Tom Otti in 5th. Heinz Sai in 7th with Regan Mitchell in 6th. There is Silver Pyramid's then, who's currently in 8th place. What about Vozarek though? Because he's had a great start. He's under threat though from Shamitat as we make our way through in towards the Variante Alta. But a great start from Sherman Vozarek here, because he's now up into 9th place. We've got Conchabo who fancies his chances against Thomas Shamitat. As we make our way now down in towards Ravazza, Conchabo has the inside line. Can he slow that car down in time and grab the apex? He can indeed, and the Hungarian with a very nice move up into 10th place.
Yeah, absolutely, and well, the Honda's really starting to unfold its wings here, and of course, if you were a bit further behind at the start and, well, just backed off a bit more than, as we saw a couple others did not do, then you can just really profit on that in this situation. But now, once again, Conchabo actually, very, very confident on his car measurements there, that he was still ahead there. Shamitat really trying desperately to get back past, but Conchabo really not having it.
He's not at all. The Hungarian defends strong against Shamitat then, as we make our way now up towards Toza here. And again, the number 92 Ferrari wanted to try and find a way through. Oscar Saris, though, down to 12th place. He had a great qualifying, but then got caught up. I think most of the drivers got caught up in the first lap melee. Seems like everything's calmed down a little bit. And I say a little bit, it has calmed down a lot. Silver Pyramids then, under pressure then from Simon Vozarek. And as I was just about to say, he's had a great race so far. He's kept out of trouble. And from a driver who qualified not so great, I would say, is having a great race right now. Really, really good job, and a solid job from Vozarek.
Absolutely. He's just completely putting that Lamborghini where it has to be. He's right behind that Lexus, and of course it's going to be something very difficult to pass here. Of course, Lamborghini very good on straight line speed and very, very maneuverable. However, the Lexus is a little bit better on the brakes, despite its looks. I think, especially in these heavy braking zones here, it'll be very, very important how that Lexus tackles these. Now Heinz Sai actually defending, well, not defending at all actually, that is a lapped car. But Heinz Sai behind Regan Mitchell, a bit further behind, and also quite a lot of traffic in between that. So we have a lot of chaos, just simply and plainly said, on track here.
We do indeed, and all caused really by that seemingly, just slight misjudgment from one car. Just seemed to cause that whole Constantina effect, and across a relatively narrow track when you think about it, off the start-finish line, you're going from a wide pit lane and it suddenly narrows down. Meanwhile then, we've got a battle there. That's Ashton Cox who makes his move then on Zamfir Radu. That's for 20th place, so Ashton Cox then back up the order, and once again Ashton Cox is caught up in a first lap melee, as there are blue flags coming out then for these drivers, so they've just got to be careful. The leader might be in their rear view mirrors very, very soon, or at least drivers on the lead lap. There's Harry Spears then, who is the leader of this race. Luke Whitehead within 0.6 of a second as they make their way now and descend towards Ravazza. Luke Whitehead riding on board with him then as he just tries to see if he can get his way past, but I think once again he's going to have a feeling of deja vu from Laguna Seca. He knows how difficult it is to get past Harry Spears at the best of times, but he's right now going to have to try and fight for the lead of this race. We have an update from our stewards then. Lap number 1, the incident between the number 155 and the number 271. The number 155, that's Heinz Sai, is going to get a 10-second penalty for causing an avoidable incident. So that was the second part of that melee. We'll wait to see if there's anything about the first part as well. Nothing yet, but it's just Heinz Sai getting a penalty for that move on one of the Butler Power Motorsport cars early on in this race, which caused the second melee of cars, a little bit of littering across the circuit. At the moment then, Gergely Conchabo again is under pressure from Shameta as we make our way in towards the first section of Tamburello through that second and third turns then. Conchabo holding firm though, although the more he does this, the more chance he has of dropping behind and dropping away from that 8th place battle of Pirmitz and Vozarek.
Absolutely, and I did actually hear from one of the drivers involved in that accident, sadly the one who has DNF'd in the meantime, Johannes Weiss. He said very disappointed with that incident with Richards. A little bit of a miscommunication and misjudgment from both drivers there with their space. But yeah, of course, very, very regrettable, of course, mainly because this is a very good track for the Bentley. And of course, this result would have propelled them way forwards in the standings. So very big regrets there from Butler Power Motorsport.
You're absolutely right. And I do say teammates earlier on. There are no team standings in this championship. It is driver only, but they are part of the same team. And I know that's going to be a sore debrief for both drivers after that one. Watching on for Gergely Conchabo then as he tries to find his way through. He's now closing in on Simon Vozarek. But there you can see the battle for the lead. Harry Spears versus Luke Whitehead. We've seen this before at Laguna Seca, although for second place. They have got themselves clear of Tinko van der Velde. And interestingly, if it finishes like this, Harry Spears will take the lead of the championship. Of course, he got second place last time out. He'll have, the full 60 points if he finishes like this 17 minutes and 43 seconds later. And he would take the lead of the championship heading towards the third round at Kailami.
Yeah, and overall, that is exactly what you want. You don't have to always be at the top of the standings, well, on the top of the podium, but, just have consistent results. And at the moment, Harry Spears, not just consistent driving, but also consistent results if he finishes this race like this. But of course, this is a little bit wide again. He'll have to watch out with that.
He will indeed. And what we know about Assetto Corsa Competizione is that if you do get too many track limit warnings, you will get yourself a drive-through penalty. And as Nico said earlier on in practice and the qualifying session, that this pit lane is a very, very long pit lane. It's one of the worst places to have a drive-through penalty because you lose so much time. having to drive through that pit lane at that very, very slow pace of 50 kilometers per hour. Approaching halfway distance then in this race, it's Harry Spears who leads the way from Luke Whitehead in second place. Tinko van der Velde is in third, and van der Velde's in a bit of a race of his own at the moment, 4.2 behind the battle for the lead, but 6.1 ahead of Jack Noller in fourth place, as that is Shamaitat, who has found a way back past Kunshabo, back into 10th place.
Yeah, and I think once again we see this good launch that the Honda gets. Shamaitat this time actually blocking off the inside for Rivazza, and Kunshabo tries to go around the outside, but Shamaitat, really aggressive on the defense, says, no sir, you will not pass. And now we get back on the main straight again, and Kunshabo really has to put down the foot now. Has to get a good launch, has to keep the foot pinned, and maybe if he has a low enough downforce setup, which he doesn't seem to have, he would have been able to get alongside again in the braking zone. But Shamaitat stays ahead.
Yeah, you see there Kunshabo just sort of holding ground, even though he's got that little bit of a toe from the Ferrari ahead of him. Seems to be struggling there. Now he's got Saristo behind him as well in the Nissan as they now make their way up towards Villeneuve. And there you can see Saristo fancies that move for 11th place, and Kunshabo might have to turn attack to defence at the moment as they now both head their way towards Tosa for this 9th time in this race. And now back onto the power, climbing the hill. Saristo now within 1.5 tenths of a second, fancying a move, just filling those mirrors for now of the Honda of Gurgly Kunshabo, but definitely just telling and reminding the Hungarian that he is there. Harry Spears then leading the way as we head to half race distance. Harry Spears knows what he has to do. He's been here before. He's been at Laguna Seca before in this exact scenario. He just has to translate that here to Imola. And if you're Luke Whitehead, there must be a sense of frustration building, because you've been here before, just a round ago, you couldn't find a way through, and we've had half of this race gone and still no way through for Luke Whitehead.
Absolutely, and at the same time, we remember his confidence last round already. After the race, he said, this could have been my win, and his hope to make this one a win as well. We see how close he's getting, but getting close is not quite enough, of course.
As the famous Murray Walker said, it's, all well and good catching the car up front. Passing him is an entirely different matter. You can see here, Luke Whitehead has well and truly caught that Mercedes ahead as they make their way up the hill now towards the left-hander of Piratella. And different lines being taken through here. You see Luke Whitehead taking a bit of curb on the left-hand side. He gets a really good run through there. The only problem is Aqua Minerale comes for you next. And there's just really nowhere he could use that bit of momentum he seemed to gain coming out of the top of the hill at Piratella. Now he's got a chance to try and close in the gap once again as they head towards Variante Alta. And it's getting a good run through here. You might have a chance to go side by side at Rivazza. Not a great run there through for Luke Whitehead. He'll lose a little bit of pace there, and that's really a corner he'll have to try and nail down for the rest of this race, because he gets so close to Harry Spears, and then that momentum seems to diminish once he gets towards the Variante Alta. Got a great battle going on here. I think that's a Silver Pyramid, and it is currently holding on to 8th place, and joining him in that battle is Vozarek and Shamaitat, as they make their way now on towards Variante Alta. Silver Pyramid trying to hang on to this 8th place in the Lexus. Got Vozarek in his rear view mirrors as Luke Whitehead there, flash of the lights, trying to warn Harry Spears he's on his way back, as that's a move then, a very late move from the Porsche. Up the inside we go, and inside then drops, he doesn't actually drop position, that was a back marker, barging the way through. I mean, you're allowed to do it so long as you've got the pace. And it looks like the Porsche does have the pace. That's Naga.
Jet Naga actually, well, one of the cars that got impeded by one of the start crashes, but apparently got tired of waiting for Heinz Sai, so to say, and now trying to get closer to the car in front, because we look at the gap of Naga and it is only 1.7 seconds, and of course, when there's a car a lap ahead of you and you're still trying to catch that delicious Honda in front of you, you just don't want to wait for that guy.
No, absolutely. Silver Pyramids trying to defend hard going in towards Villeneuve. Then Vozoric is all over the back of him. I saw that just out of the corner of our eyes then as we make our way now. The cars will be making their way towards Toza. Who will emerge out there? The Lexus will. So Silver Pyramids hanging on there. But I think that was Sharmetat then getting all sorts of out of shape coming out of Toza. Silver Pyramids again trying to hang on. Trying to just secure this 8th place. Conchabo fancies to move up the inside as well. Has to back out of that one too. And this battle for 8th and 9th, for 10th, 11th, for 12th, it's all heating up here. And these drivers are doing a great job so far of keeping it clean. Oh, big clout to the curb there for Vozoric then. He'll get an impeded run coming out of there. And now Vozoric will be all over the back of him looking for a move then. Will Sharmetat then in towards the Variante Alta, but no way through there. That leaves him open to Conchabo to try and have a go down the hill as we descend towards Rivazza. One mistake here in that pack could be the difference between having the 8th place position that Silver Pyramids has and the 12th place position that Saristo has. Chris Bourne then under pressure from the recovering Richard Schaefer as we make our way through, and that was Silver Pyramids off the circuit. There's Vozoric up the inside, and Vozoric moves ahead, now back into 8th place. Silver Pyramids meanwhile down to 9th. Chris Bourne on the outside at the second part of Rivazza loses that place to Richard Schaefer. Schaefer up into 13th place. Silver Pyramids, you see they're down into 9th place. Sharmetat will be ruining his luck there. He had a chance to find his way through. Saristo up the inside of Conchabo on the first part of Tamburello. Did he get that move stuck? I wonder. Chris Bourne, meanwhile, fancies his way back past Schaefer. So Richard Schaefer put in all that effort to try and find his way past. Back around, back through he goes. And I'll have to try all over again. Silver Pyramids really holding firm against Thomas Sharmetat then. Through in towards Toza we go, holding on to 9th place. I think the moment for him to try and attack 8th place is gone. Vozoric will know now that this is his chance to get back onto the power, to get back onto the pace and try and pull away from Thomas Sharmetat, as Silver Pyramids will try and hold on to 9th place. Literally, no matter where you look, there is a battle happening out on track.
Yeah, and once again, we just have that big issue there. We saw it with Schaefer and Bourne, and we saw how Schaefer actually got hit at the start. So I think Chris Bourne, as long as he can just stay close to Schaefer towards the long straight, then there's not really much that Schaefer can do, because Schaefer will definitely have enormous amounts of damage. And there we have Thomas Sharmetat actually getting a little bit caught out there, having made all that progress and now losing all of that progress once again.
Yeah, I wonder, because he did run over and he ran deep going in towards the Variante Alta. I wonder, did he get a tap? I'm not too sure. Meanwhile, then, Sheldon Muscat has got his rear view mirrors filled because he's got Jed Naga right behind him in the Porsche. This is for position, but the car behind them is a lap over. So the blue flags will be waving, but there you can see Naga trying to find a way through. Tries a little bit of a switchback then in towards Tamburello. Just trying to put Sheldon Muscat off here. Might have worked because Muscat didn't get a great run through there. Through the third part of Tamburello. Here comes Naga once again then. He'll run side by side as they make their way up towards Villeneuve once again. Naga has the inside line and takes away the position. And Jed Naga then, great racecraft from him. He literally crafted that move from the exit of Rivazza. Really, really good stuff from the Porsche.
Fantastic work from him, and well, that is a nice position that he's got now. And Sheldon Muscat, I think he's also slightly impeded there with a bit of damage. Actually lets Heinz Seinau through, but yeah, either way, very good driving from Naga, and of course Muscat at this point probably just wants to end this race in peace rather than in pieces.
Yeah, well, that's a really good one. I like that one, Nico. Can I steal that? I mean, totally borrow it. Galen Conchabo then, 10th place at the moment, and he's now got ahead of Thomas Sharmetat then. So up into the top 10 he will go. And there you've got Silver Pyramids in 9th, and Vozoric tries to extend that gap even further. Remember, Hinsai has that 10 seconds worth of penalty, so that'll be added to the end of his race. Battle for 12th place heating up as well between Chris Bourne and Richard Schaefer as they make their way through in towards Variante Alta. Again, Schaefer running slightly wide then out of the chicane. And I'm just having a look at the battle for the lead. Harry Spears has opened up a 3.1 second gap to Luke Whitehead. Schaefer trying to move down the inside. You can see Chris Bourne sees it coming, tried to shut the door, but didn't shut it enough because there goes the Bentley up the inside. But taking that line there, did he compromise his exit coming out of Rivazza? Now, Chris Bourne will have a lot of tow coming down the start-finish straight then. Where will he go? He'll move to the right-hand side of the track then. That'll give him the outside line going in towards Tamburello, but you can see he's got the speed there. Can he find the grip all the way through? Yes, he can. Maybe so, because the Butler Power Motorsport Bentley tries to find an inside move over those sleeping policemen. That Ferrari will go. A bit of a hit for Richard Schaefer. Schaefer finds himself into the gravel, and I think that was Saristo saying thank you very much, I'll take those 2 positions away. The Ferrari actually does wait up and let Schaefer back through, and Saristo tries to find his way through as well, which he does. Now that's interesting for Chris Ball, because him ceding that position, he clearly feels he was at fault for that one, but I don't know where else he was supposed to go other than over the sleeping policeman, but maybe that's just me.
I think it was a bit of 50-50 there. In this case, it's very difficult to say because, of course, when you just go over the sleeping policeman, either way, I think he felt that he squeezed Schaefer a little bit too much in the first part of the chicane. And then, of course, you know, got that little hit, got over the sleeping policeman, and then hit Schaefer actually off the track. So I think it's a very, very nice display of sportsmanship from both guys here.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have had confirmation from the stewards that the very first incident at the start of the race, no further action. So they clearly feel racing incident between the 2 drivers that started what was a bit of a chaos. I think Nico described it best as. Consabo then trying to defend from Ashton Cox, I think that is. So that is not for position. As Ashton Cox in 20th place. I think if you're Gurgly Consabo, just let Ashton Cox go, because all you're going to do is cost yourself that little bit of time against a backmarker you are not racing against. Just over 5 minutes of this race left to go then. Harry Spears leads the way ahead of Luke Whitehead as we see Gurgly Consabo then will run side by side with Ashton Cox then going in towards Tamburello, and Cox will have the inside line and gets the position back. And of course, if you are a backmarker, you can find your way through so long as you do it safely. But you see here, I think he's a similar pace to Gurgly Consabo. So when he gets the move done, and then the blue flags come out, then he has to really give that position back. And all of this is costing Consabo time, and Schaefer is simply reeling him in.
Gained 7/10 in that first sector there, and now, well, hopefully for Consabo, that Cox won't be able to pull past him again. But at this point, it really is a question of, you know, if he's ignoring blue flags or not. And at the same time now, we have Schaefer coming up right behind him, going really wide there. So I think some of the damage from that start crash now really starting to play in there. And, well, we'll see if in the last just over 4 minutes, Schaefer will be able to pull something on Consabo. But Cox really still looking maybe to put it hard on the inside there of Consabo.
Yeah, trying to fill those mirrors. It's a great technique if you're on the same lap, but Cox has got to be careful here because he won't win many friends doing things like that. Harry Spears, though, have to say, over the last 10 minutes or so, he's built up a gap against Luke Whitehead. 3.8 seconds the gap will now be as the Sidemax Motorworks Mercedes, the number 285, finished second place at Laguna Seca last time out. So if he wins this race, if it stays like this for the next 3 minutes and 41 seconds, he will be the championship leader going in towards Kyalami as he now makes that short run on towards the Variante Alta. Of course, all he needs to do, I say all he needs to do, is keep it on the island, but he's got to keep it on the island and make sure that Luke Whitehead doesn't catch him. Chris Bourne then, 14th place so far in this race as he lost a little bit of ground, a little bit of position as well. Saristo found his way through and has since tried to drive away from him as well. But the field has spread out a little bit over this one. We saw some great battles. We've still got one between Consabo and Schaefer developing towards the end of this race. Hinsai, of course, has 10 seconds worth of penalties. At the moment, that's going to drop him from 7th to 9th. So you'll see Vozarek move up a position, so too will Silver Pyramids. At this moment in time, of course, we've got just under 3 minutes of this race to run.
Yeah, but in these 3 minutes, we can still have a lot of things happen. And Ashton Cox still really insistent on staying with that Honda NSX there, just really wanting to fill the mirrors, and Schaefer is just really struggling for grip now. I think these tires are probably through because, of course, a lot of sliding and a lot of, well, not just sliding, but also that spin, of course, and trying to hold the brakes and then still getting hit. These tires are completely through, I'd say, and now really just going to try his best to get past Cox and maybe get up to the back of Kunsabo.
It's the limit of abrasion now for these tyres, as the drivers will just try and find as much grip as they can in these worn tyres. There's Luke Whitehead in second place, has dropped now to 4.8 seconds behind Harry Spears, as they now head towards the next timing line. Stays at 4.8 seconds as he now makes his way through in towards Acqua Minerale, back onto the power and back towards the Variante Alta. And, well, a race it could have been for Luke Whitehead. He seems to drop away. Didn't quite get the start nailed down. Harry Spears simply drove away with this one. Jack Noller, though, in fourth place, has had a bit of a lonely race, really, hasn't he? He finished 12th last time out at Laguna Seca. So a fourth place finish will be right up his street. And, yeah, it's one of those races where you're just slightly on your own a bit, Nico.
I think that's a welcome change of pace, to be honest, from him, because, well, he had a great qualifying, and then he didn't really have to do a lot of work to get in that position. So getting a P4 like this, of course, you know, people say it's the unthankful position just off the podium, but quite honestly, fourth place like this, what an improvement from Jack Noller. And of course, just from the starting position, he couldn't have just done it, and, well, just staying error-free, staying out of trouble, and keeping the car perfectly on track. So perfect race for him at the moment here, and especially considering the competition around him, very good drive from him.
Well, Harry Spears making his way now through Tosa. We believe he's on the final lap of this race then, as the Porsche, the number 202, that's Shikinami. She's currently in 17th place at the moment and kept her head really out of trouble. Into the pits she had to go at the end of the first lap, but all things considered, 17th place is not bad going whatsoever. Harry Spears, though, meanwhile, will make his way down in towards Acqua Minerale for the final time. And it hasn't been a cruise for him. He has been putting in, once again, a defensive masterclass. Harry Spears and defending go really, really well together, apparently, it seems. Making our way through that Variante Alta and onto the charge now towards Rivazza. As we see, there is a 10-second time penalty for Silver Pyramid for an avoidable collision, avoidable incident with the number treble 1. So that's Kunsabo. Meanwhile then, Harry Spears makes his way around the final corner at Rivazza and powers towards the line to what will be a dominant win in the end, but he had to work hard for it. Harry Spears will win the race here at Imola, and with it will take the championship lead as we head towards Kyalami. A great performance from Harry Spears. Luke Whitehead comes across the line for 2 out of 2 podiums, second place this time around, and Tinko van der Velde will cross the line and finish once again on the podium. Third place for him after 5th in that qualifying session. Jack Noller should come across the line safely in 4th place. Kunsabo, meanwhile, has got his mirrors filled still with the McLaren of Ashton Cox. They're not racing each other. They're just simply having a great time, it looks like. Kunsabo, though, in 11th place as he makes his way through then on towards the last couple of corners at Rivazza. We've also got Tom Otti finishing in 5th place, Regan Mitchell in 6th. Hinsai will come across the line in 7th place, but that 10 seconds will be added to the end of his race. It looks like it's only going to cost him 1 position now, because Silver Pyramids has got himself 10-second penalty as well. Vozaric then, really good performance from him on his first race here in the World Pro Racing Assetto Corsa Competizione Sprint Series, from really the back of the grid to 8th place. Really, really good drive from him. Kunsabo crosses the line in 11th place. Richard Schaefer crosses the line in 12th, having started this race in 3rd place after that collision between himself and Weiss. Well, I have to say, that has been a thoroughly, thoroughly enjoyable race. What started as a bit chaotic there as Harry Spears goes for a spin. The 2 teammates there, Tinko van der Velde giving him maybe a love tap, he'll call it. But in the end, though, what a drive then from Harry Spears. Defended well against Luke Whitehead and then started to pull away in the final 10 minutes. Never looked back either. A really dominant performance. Luke Whitehead in 2nd place, and Tinko van der Velde will round off our podium. And there you can see Harry Spears giving him that little bit of a love tap back coming out there. But clearly great friends off the track and great friends on it as well. But a great performance here from Harry Spears, who by my maths, which we should never normally go by, he does take the lead of the championship.
Yeah, fantastic race from him, and, well, quite honestly, I had kind of expected a little bit more from Luke Whitehead, especially towards the closing stages. He seemed very confident last week, but of course, Harry Spears, He knows that Mercedes very well. The Mercedes is a good car around here. And Harry Spears has, of course, quite a lot of experience as well. Now we have the top 3 coming in for some interviews. But first of all, we also have another guest coming in, which is, Johannes Weiss, who was sadly our first man to DNF.
Yeah, hey
Yes.
guys.
Yes, Johannes. I mean, thank you for joining us. I mean, talk us through that first lap melee, because it took out probably half the field in that incident.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big shame. I talked with Richard, obviously, about the first incident that happened. It was just a tiny miscalculation, just like very few centimeters. And yeah, so I hadn't had any damage from that one, so sadly just went bad for him, which was avoidable, but stuff happens, miscalculations happens, and yeah, and then the second incident in turn 3, I've rewatched it now quite some times to see if I did anything wrong or should have left more space, but I think it was Insai who came in from quite far back, hitting me on the rear left. Basically had no chance to avoid that. Tried to catch the car again, and as soon as I felt there was no chance, I slammed the brakes and yeah, basically was in the middle of the road. And then I think it was Leontinovic who couldn't avoid it anyways, and then that gave me more than 3 minutes of damage. Basically race over.
Yeah, big shame, obviously. So,
I mean, the quali pace and the race pace on practice we did earlier was very good and very promising. So yeah, even though we are not the best qualifying drivers, still managing P3 and P4 in quali was quite promising for us. And to end the race like this and yeah, have both cars taken out so early, it's just, yeah, doesn't feel too good.
Well, I will say, though, that just a quick word from me, because 3rd and 4th place for yourself and Richard there, was it a missed opportunity for you both to score some big points today?
Well, obviously, yes. I mean, as I said, we had a very good pace in the practice runs for the race, so I don't know if we would have been able to catch P1 and P2, but probably play along with them. I think there certainly was a chance to get at least one car on the podium, if not both. So yeah, missed opportunity for some very big points and a hard hit back for the remainder of the season.
Well, Johannes, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. Hopefully, a bit of better luck next time when we head to Kyalami, but thank you very much for talking to us.
Yeah, thanks.
So I believe we've got our 3rd place driver ready and waiting in Tinko van der Velde. And Nico, why don't you take this one? Let's see if he's around.
Tinko, can you hear us?
Yeah, hello.
What a drive from you. Not quite able to challenge the top 2. However, just a very big moment of shock for you at the start. How was your experience there?
Yeah, I had a pretty good run off the line, but then I saw the 2 Bentleys colliding, so that was quite scary indeed. I managed to avoid it, so that was quite good. But a shame for them, of course. And then yeah, afterwards I could just drive on. I didn't have the pace for P1 and P2. But yeah.
But either way, still, well, so to say, damage reduction to the championship standings. Overall, you're all very, very cozy up there. Same podium crew as the last time. And are you looking to just change anything, maybe change the approach or something, as you go to Kyalami for the mid-season mark?
Yeah, definitely. I didn't really have any practice for this one because I have to practice for SRO I have tomorrow. So yeah, I hope to practice more for the next one and be on the pace.
Right, then good luck for that. Of course, well done today, good race driven, and yeah, back to you, Kieran.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Tico, for joining us. Congratulations on the 3rd place. We'll move on to our 2nd place driver in Luke Whitehead. Luke, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you, mate.
Luke, so pole position then, down to 2nd place, and it looked like, from our point of view, it was deja vu from Laguna Seca, no way past Harry Spears. I mean, talk us through that one.
Yeah, so as you can probably imagine, I'm getting a little bit fed up of seeing the back of Harry's car by now, having 2 full races behind it. But it was unfortunate at the start because, as the lights went out, I had a screen freeze. So I was basically waiting and didn't know what speed I was doing. So I was off the throttle, and then of course by the time my screen had got back together again, Harry was gone. So it was really annoying. I was not very happy, and then I was hassling him for quite a while. I had to do a bit of fuel saving mid race, and at the end just made a couple of mistakes, and that just put me out the toe, and then it was game over. And I went for quite an aggressive setup, more aggressive than I usually do, because obviously I know the Merc is so fast around here, so I had to do something rather desperate to keep up with him. But it ends up killing my tyres as I kind of expected, but I didn't expect it to kill them that much. So a bit unfortunate that I couldn't give Harry more of a tough time at the front, but he drove a really good race in a car that rode the track really well. So fair play to him, well done to him, well done to Tinko as well, making it through the crash at the start. They both drove good races.
Yeah, and the three of you, between yourself, between Van der Velde, and between Spears, it looks like it's very cosy. The three of you have been on the podium twice in this season so far. Are these two drivers the ones you consider your rivals for this season?
Yeah, not just in this. I raced them in SimGrid's Sprint Cup last season that's just finished yesterday, and I've had a few on-track battles with those guys already, so I'm quite familiar with them. And obviously, they're both very quick guys, part of a very strong team as well. And we're both, I'm part of a really strong team. They're part of a really strong team. We've both got very strong, pace and very strong skills as well. So I was always under no illusion that it would be a tough season, and these guys are. It's going to be a tough fight, but I'm relishing it.
Well, that's great to hear. And Luke, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. Congratulations on your second place, and the floor is now yours for any sponsors, any shout-outs you'd like to have.
Yeah, first of all, as I always do, I'd like to say a massive thank you to H2R Racing, or H3 Racing if you're like myself, English. They've been awesome recently. Obviously SimGrid, they've been supporting me in that. Me and Hamad Rakizi were doing that, and it's been a huge, boost. And I've learned so much with them, and I continue to learn so much with them. And they're giving me a load of massive opportunities, which I'm trying to grab by both hands and my feet at the same time. So they've been awesome. I've learned a huge amount, and I can't thank those guys enough. I'd like to thank my mum and dad as well for tuning in as always. I wouldn't be here without them, so I've got to give them credit. And well done to Harry and Tinko once again. They drove a great race, and well done to Jack Nodder as well, P4. And I think he qualified quite a way back, so he drove a good race as well. And also well done to Ashton Cox. I think he got quite unlucky in qualifying, but his pace was really there, and he deserved to be up the front fighting for the top 5. But great race from everyone, and I hope you guys watching at home enjoyed the race.
I'm sure they did, and thank you, Luke, for joining us, and congratulations on your second place.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Kieran.
And I'll hand over to Nico to chat with our race winner in Harry Spears.
Harry, can you hear us this time?
Yeah, all better this time.
There we are, perfect. Harry, what a race it was. You didn't get pole position by just the slightest of margins, but you could get the race lead and then kept it until the end. How did it overall go for you?
Yeah, I was a bit disappointed to not get pole position. It was, I would have had it, but I had a bit of a moment into Aqua Minerale, but I'm not one to make excuses for quali. So that was really well done on Whitehead's part, get pole position, especially in the Ferrari. So then the race, I was really dreading it getting second place, because obviously in 30-minute sprint races, the elbows are all out at full force. It could be really tough to overtake Whitehead. And so yeah, I was really happy to have hopped him on the start, and I just went immediately defensive, because I know he's a very aggressive attacker, and a very good attacker as well. So I made sure to cover him off immediately. And yeah, then other than that, it was, once I was out in front, I wasn't driving as fast as I possibly could have. I knew I was sort of in control of the race at the time, so I just wanted to keep him behind and just not make any mistakes. And then I think he made a couple of mistakes, and then, as he said, I think his tyres were falling off, so he just started dropping back. Just a race of consistency for me, really.
Now being ahead of Tinko, though, in the standings, does that give you a boost of confidence going for the halfway round at Kyalami?
Yeah, I think it's no secret that the Merc is awful at Kyle Army, so I think I've put myself in a good position here. And then I think it's Monza and Bathurst after that, which are very, very strong Merc tracks. So to get these results in these first 2 races, going into the championship, I knew that Laguna Seca and Kyle Army are going to be my weakest ones. So getting a win today was pretty much essential if I want to be in hope for the title. It's, yeah, I think I'm in a really good spot for the rest of the championship.
Right, so fantastic drive from you today. Any shoutouts that you want to do?
Yeah, shout out to Sideback Motorworks, my team. Shout out to Jordan Grant Smith. He's a friend of mine who's sadly going to be here today because he's racing in SRO. And yeah, he's been really helpful to me, giving me a lot of support. And yeah, another, last but not least, big shout out to my cat who sadly passed away this week. So I've done him proud.
Well then, my condolences, but I hope you nevertheless have a wonderful evening. Back to you, Kieran.
Thank you very much, Nico, and thank you to Harry for having a chat with us, and congratulations on the win. And that brings our broadcast to an end here. Well, we saw then, we've got Harry Spears, who won the race and is now our championship leader heading into the next round at Kyle Army, which he says is probably not going to be a great round for him. The win today was essential. You heard it there. Luke Whitehead finishing in 2nd place and Tinko van der Velde finishing in 3rd. Harry Spears once again putting on a defensive masterclass until the tyres started to fall away. Bit of a dramatic start to this race, Nico, I think would be an understatement, but a good race overall.
Absolutely. And, well, as I did anticipate, we're going to have a fantastic race on our hands. Definitely a lot of tension, a lot of excitement, and, well, obviously you don't want to have bigger start crashes or something to happen, but I'd say we had plenty of excitement nevertheless.
I think we did. I think it's very fair to say that for sure. Who knows what will happen next time when we head to Kyle Army in just a week's time. We hope you can join us for that one. And wherever you've been watching, if it's on ESTV, Motorsport TV, TVM Sport, maybe you're watching us on Facebook, on YouTube and on Twitch. It's been a pleasure to bring these races to you, and I hope you've enjoyed it along at home. A big shout out to our sponsors as well in AMD, HyperX, GT Omega Racing, Thrustmaster, Gaming Malta and visitmalta.com. And don't forget as well to visit the World Pro Racing website. Make sure you put /events and you can find out where your next race is going to be. We've got the Giro Series coming up as well as the Mega Sprint at Brands Hatch on Tuesday. So make sure you sign yourself up for that. Be a part of one of the great racing series we have here at World Pro Racing. But from myself, Kieran McGinley, and from Nico Hillebrand alongside, it's been a pleasure to bring this race to you, and we hope to see you again soon. A big shout out to our team behind the scenes. We've got Justin Mifsud and Nathan Mifsud on the cameras and the broadcast, as well as our FIA accredited stewards in Adrian Figallo and George Muscat. Well, until next time, take care of yourselves and have a very good evening. Good night.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
It's just so dangerous. You are risking not only your life, but also my life.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.